All right, guys, let's welcome Scott Smith.
Good morning. Good morning. How are y'all today? Y'all ready to get real? All right, I got two questions for you today. How often do you hear the voice of God? And second question, how often are you spending alone time with God? Because the two go hand in hand. If you really want to know somebody, know their voice, know their heart, you need to spend time with them. And time with them alone, right? You don't need to have a crowd to get to know one intimately, right? One of my good friends, Ethan Bricker, one of my best friends, he hasn't always been one of my best friends, but I had to get to know him. I had to spend time with him. I had to know his likes and dislikes and what he's passionate about. My wife, if I was scared to spend alone time with my wife in the early stages of our relationship, she would not be my wife today, right? She would have been like, boy, bye. If I didn't want to spend time with her to get to know her and to see what's passionate on her heart. Now, in Isaiah, it says, you will hear him with your own voice. Right behind, with your own ears will hear him. Right behind you, a voice will say which direction you should go, whether to the right or to the left. Now, how many of you would like to have that sort of direct direction in your life? We all would, right? It's available to you. You can hear the voice of God just like anybody else in this room. He doesn't play favorites when it comes to that, but you got to do your part and get into the relationship, right? You got to be willing to get into the innermost places and dig deeper. John Mark McMillan, a singer-songwriter, we do a few of his songs here. One of his lyrics, I just love it. It says, you always find me in between the thunder and the lightning. And I just love that. You know, there's a space in between where the lightning flashes and the thunder crashes. God is always speaking to us, no matter what. He's always pursuing us, but it's in those still, quiet places that we get still enough so he can catch us, right? That's where we hear his voice clearest. That's where we hear his voice the loudest. We need to pattern our lives after Jesus, which that's nothing new. As Christians, we're supposed to be following Jesus and going after what he goes after, right? But one of the things that Jesus was really good at was withdrawing. You know, he always had multitudes following him. He was preaching to people all the time. The disciples were with him 24/7, but he still was intentional and made time to get away so he could just be with the Father. Just to glean from him and to stay connected because the relationship was worth it to him. So if you want to hear the voice of God for yourself, you're going to have to spend some time with him by yourself. Don't rely on somebody else to do that for you. Now picture Jesus is on the stage with me. I'm over here, Jesus is over there where the art is, right? And the room is empty. There's no one else on the stage. Now he can talk to me at a pretty low volume and I'd be able to pick up everything he's saying pretty clearly. Now, if I put about a dozen or so people in between me and Jesus and we filled up the room and everybody's having their conversations talking about life, sports, relationships, whatever, it's going to be a lot harder for me to hear Jesus' voice because he doesn't really shout, you know. I know for me, he doesn't shout. So if I want to hear what he's saying, I need to get closer. If not, I'm going to be stuck over here trying to read his lips, and I'm catching every seventh word. I may be picking it up, doing some sign language, something. But if I want to know his voice and know what he's saying and have no doubt what he's trying to pour into me, then I need to get closer and I need to remove the distractions. Now imagine I had this really cool ministry idea for the river, and I go to pastor and I'm like, dude, I got this really cool idea I want to share with you. It's probably going to be something about putting a Chick-fil-A in the church, but we'll talk about that later. So I have this really cool idea and I want to share with him, but I grab him right after church and I'm like, dude, I got this really cool idea. You're going to love it. And I start listing all this stuff. He's not going to really pick up everything that I'm trying to tell him at that time. You know, when he walks right off the stage after church and the music's playing and he's trying to meet new people and do this and talk to everyone, I can't expect him to pick up everything that I'm trying to tell him. So what do I need to do? I need to schedule an appointment with him. I need to be like, hey, I want to spend time with you. Give me like 30, 45 minutes and I'm going to lay it out for you. Because then I'll have his full attention, right? Now, we don't schedule an appointment with God to have his full attention because his eyes are always on us. He's always pursuing us. He's always wanting to pour into us because he values us that much. No, we schedule a time with God so that he can have our full attention. So we're not worrying about what we're going to eat, what our kids are doing. Oh, I got to get kids to practice. Oh, I got to go to work today. Man, it's going to be a long day. No, I'm scheduling time with God in the chaos so I can get alone and I can know his heart. That's where his voice is the loudest. And when he talks to me, I want to know it's him. I want to know without a doubt it's not another voice. You know what I'm saying? Some of you guys, though, I feel like it's almost like you're afraid for his voice to be the loudest. Sometimes we act like we're scared to be alone with God. Oh, I don't know what he's going to tell me. He's going to call something out on me for sure. I don't know what he's going to tell me I have to lay down and give up. I don't want him to point out all my flaws. Which, in fact, if you knew God's heart and you spent time with him, you would know that everything he says is good and good for us. Don't be afraid of discipline. The root word of discipline is disciple, right? And we've all made the choice to follow. So don't you want to invest in that relationship in that way? We shouldn't be scared to be alone with the Father. His voice, hearing his voice, that's how we live our best life. No other voice is going to give you what he can give you. The direction he can give you, the love he can give you, the confidence that he can give you. It's only from the Father's voice. We always want to surround ourselves with a party. And, at the River, we preach community. We love community. Accountability is vital to growth. But at some point, have we replaced someone else's voice as the voice of God for us? We depend on someone else to give us a word when God is saying we can have that word. We come to church on Sundays and we're excited because there's probably going to be about 3 or 4 words given from the stage. Today there was about 17. So we get excited because I'm like, Lord, one of those is going to be for me. And he's like, you're right. But I've been trying to tell you the same thing for 3 weeks. When we start to rely on someone else to be the voice of God for us, if the only word, and think about it. Think about the last few words that you've got from God. Have they all been from other people? When we start to do that, how is that any different than talking to God through a priest? We're talking to God through someone else, right? How is that any different? Jesus didn't die to bridge the chasm between you and the Father so you can have an Old Testament relationship with him. He wants you to know his heart. He wants to know your heart, and he wants you to know him. It's like we're standing outside and we're looking up at the sky and we're waiting for the fireworks. We're waiting for the loud explosions, the loud bangs. And Jesus is over here and he's got a sparkler in his hand. And he's like, Scott, I got something for you. Hey, I got something for you. But we don't want to look that way because it's got to be something big. We're waiting for the loud, the crashes, the lightnings, the thunders, the explosions. Now, who likes sparklers the most? Kids, right? How does Jesus want us to come to him? Like children. Children don't need big explosions in order to captivate them in awe and wonder. You got to get the still and the quiet. You got to be able to get away intentionally, purposefully. I'm going to share a personal story with you. So 2 Real Talks ago, not this last Real Talk, but the one before that, it was the first time that I had spoken on stage by myself. And I was pretty anxious leading up to it, quite a bit nervous. And in my preparation, I had this song that I would play, and it was like a pump-up song. So like the chorus was like, bring the lion out, bring the lion out. Y'all don't make fun of me. It was my Eye of the Tiger song. Y'all all got one. So I'm in my prayer time with God, and I'm joking around with God. And yes, I joke around with God. He jokes around with me. Where do you think I got my sense of humor? If you ain't laughing with Jesus, you ain't doing it right. I'm just saying. So I'm joking around with God. I'm like, man, before I go out on the stage, I'm going to sing this song, and I'm going to bring the line. I'm going to get pumped up. And then, I don't know, you know how McMorrin from time to time, they have the stage set up for productions? Yes. We can't miss Mamma Mia, right, and Legally Blonde. Well, that particular Sunday, the stage was set up for none other than The Lion King. I had no idea. That had been in the works for months, right? So, and the funny thing is, and funny, not haha, but I didn't catch it at first. It didn't resonate at first. It was when I was in worship, and I'm just like, God, I give it to you, all of my nerves, you are my confidence. He's over here with a sparkler, like, I got something for you. I'm like, okay. He said, you see this? I did that for you. I know, I about crumpled. He knows my heart. He knows my heart. He knew what it would take. That act alone was the biggest boost of confidence that I could have gotten anywhere. And he knew that. The God that I serve is in the details. He's in the details. And his voice is enough. His voice is enough. I got one more scripture. It's in Colossians. Yes, feast on all the treasures of the heavenly realm and fill your thoughts with heavenly realities and not with the distractions of the natural realm. Any word, any revelation that you get from God, it's going to help you connect with the master and creator of the universe. And I don't know about you, I don't want to leave any revelation on the table. Anything that he wants to tell me, I know it's for my good. I want every morsel, every crumb. I want it all because he's worth it. I value the relationship more than any other relationship. And that's the point that we should get to, right? Because that's the most important thing. So, 2 questions. I'll put them up again. How often do you hear the voice of God? And how often are you getting alone with God, spending alone time with God? Thank you.
That was really good. Thank you, Scott. That was awesome.